You Need to Know podcast, part of the Castropolis Podcast Network. I'm Tommy B. And we have a truly iconic guest in the house tonight. I have to say, and I don't want to make him, seem older than he really is, but, he's a legend to me. I grew up, my cousins playing Holy Ghost, the Barcades, my dad playing Soul Fingers. So this is the man. Has it been 5 decades yet? Total?
Absolutely. We've had a record. We've had a hit record in every decade for the last 5 decades.
That
Absolutely.
is amazing. Hey, you know what? Let me mention something to you. Well, first of all, let me say Larry Dobson. Thank you so much, Larry Dobson, for being
Oh, it's
here.
my pleasure, Tommy. My pleasure.
Thank you for taking the time. But I grew up. I'm like borderline. What do you call it? Boomer Xer. Okay. So
Sure.
I remember that period because I remember, of course, Soulfinger, going back to the Barcades, going back to Holy Ghost. But there was a period, man, where really you had when hip hop started,
Mm,
where it was strange because I remember going to a show, you had Switch on the show,
mm.
Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince on the show, and the Barcades. And it was a great show. But that kind
Absolutely.
of mix, you don't get that kind of mix in a show these days. But how did that feel like coming from, you saved, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but the
Mm,
Barcades, the whole tragic story.
sure.
I've met and worked a little bit with James Alexander, and you came in, you really turned that machine around and got it rolling again. But how did it feel for you when we coming into the '80s? You got hip hop, you're performing in front of so many different generations. How does it feel to you?
Well, first let me just tell you. So, the particular concert you're talking about that was birthed by a tour that I own. It's called the Masters of Funk. It's all of us OGs, Ohio players, Confunction, the Barcades, Daz, Lakeside. We all travel together. It's a nonstop, no set change show. And that
Wow.
was in the early years of it when you probably caught that concert because Switch did a lot of dates with us. Man, you know what? I've been blessed and lucky enough to have come from an era where we all started out pretty much together,
Hmm.
had our best years, so to speak, together. The players and Lakeside and Confunction and Daz and the One Way and the Mary Jane Girls and all these acts had their best years. We all had our best years together, so to speak. When I say best years, I mean when there was just no question about whether the next record was going to be a hit or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, it's amazing to first of all be able to be out and still moving around and in good health and in a reasonable portion of, as they said in church, a reasonable portion of our minds
Hmm.
still
Yeah.
left us. But I'm ecstatic, man. As a matter of fact, we're still touring. We're lining the Masters of Funk up to start in February of next year. Well, as a matter of fact, we just changed it. So we're starting in Dallas, Texas, 2026, on to Macon, Georgia, and we'll be on in everybody's city. But man,
Excellent.
I am. These are my guys. We all friends. We
Hmm.
play together, sing together. So it's amazing, man.
Yeah, good stuff. And I do recall, I've had an opportunity to talk to a couple of members of Slave,
Hmm.
Lakeside. I mentioned, of course, your bandmate James Alexander,
Sure.
and also talked to the late from Mtume, James Mtume. And
Yeah.
one of the things he mentioned, because we were talking about not necessarily the decline in
Uh,
music, but the
the
change in
interruption.
the interruption in music. And one of the big things he mentioned was the fact that the bands had gone away. When you started to see the situation, not necessarily with you going solo, because you go solo, you have a band, but there are a lot of groups that don't necessarily have the musicality and the band presence on stage that it was like when you were happening in the '80s. So,
Sure.
do you think that the band's transitioning into tracks, and not to put any pressure on hip hop, but do you think that changed the direction of where we are now with R&B?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. The absence of quote unquote the funk bands came with promoters really not having the confidence that they were able to draw and on concerts where there were just one or two of them, even mixed in with hip hop acts. But like I said, we solved that problem
Mm-hmm.
by combining all of us, five or six of us, performing in the same shows. Man, we played and we started in 1999, and even though you may not have seen the masses much, we were still performing here and there, but there was and there was an absence, but the promoters just stopped sort of believing in it. And I think now there's a resurgence of it because the girls have kind of had dominated the charts,
Mm-hmm.
the Scissors and the Money Longs and the who.
Yeah.
And not to take anything away from them making great records, but the circle turns, man. The circle turns.
Hmm.
And now I think you're gonna see a resurgence of that because we have AG and Live Nations all just at our doorsteps, man, just asking for dates for 2026. So it's gonna be remarkable, man. I just think we have to stay away for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Promoters get confidence that we could draw again. And you know what? As for the capabilities, some of the acts just weren't able to be all they could be the best versions of themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you look around, you got Ron Eisen. Ron is 82, still blessed to be able to be just incredibly well on stage. But it's a lot of guys. George is 80 plus.
Yeah.
George. So there are a lot of guys who still have it. Maybe
Yeah.
not in big doses, as we say sometimes, but
Yeah. Yeah.
they got it.
How are you feeling? Are you still doing stuff? Doing anything with Charlie Wilson?
Charlie said, Charlie outgrew us. Charlie started with us in the Masters in 1999. But after his first #1 record, we started to get less and less of it. Right from the show, because we had a career to turn.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a resurgence for Charlie.
Yo, big time.
So
Big time. Yeah.
we were glad for it. But it got to be less and less that we could get him captured in the Masters show. But man, Charlie's one of my best friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
When
And
I
good.
was solo, he
Yeah.
was one of the voices that I called and said, yeah, I call him C. I said, "See, what you think?" I said, I'm going to come out of my hiatus and try it alone." He said, "Uncle, if anybody can do it, you can do it."
Yeah.
And I did. And I
Yeah.
started another record label with my son, and we started putting music out on our own label, which we have not stopped in the last 4 or 5 years.
That's excellent. That's the way to do it. That's the
Yes,
way
sir.
exactly the way to do it. So looking back, when we were going through, I mentioned Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince because I remember that one
Mhm.
particular show you guys were on. What other groups do you remember looking back at that period when you started to see the transition of funk, R&B, and hip hop? Who do you recall outside of the funk genre that you really started to make noise on the tour, which that you were doing?
As some of the single artists came along, there were more women than men, to come
Mm-hmm.
along and kind of be the new kids on the block, so to speak. But
Because that's the time with Sherelle, Pebbles. Yeah, you had a lot of women
yeah,
coming on the scene.
absolutely. But I tell you who there was a resurgence of. There was a resurgence of Silk, Drew Hill, Jagged
Hmm.
Edge. We call them the '90s acts. They came along and the promoters really had confidence that putting them together on a show would be the cat's meow, so to speak, and they were, and
Yeah,
they still are. But everything has a shelf life.
yeah.
Everything sort of has an expiration date, so to speak, if I may be that bold and say that.
Hmm.
And not to say that they are gone away, but it's just they step back and step out of the spotlight, so to speak, and let the other genre. Right now the queens are having it. Gladys and Patty and
Yeah.
Stephanie and Shaka, and then you have Monica
And
and
Brandy.
Brandy.
Yeah.
Then you have Kelly and that all girls thing. It's a lot of and I understand it all. And some of them do better than others. But I tell you what, as we say, the OGs, we kind of hold our own.
Hmm.
And when we are packaged together, right, put enough of us together on a show, promoters can't do wrong.
Yeah. Let me ask you about another genre that really has been around a long time, but's
Hmm.
really getting the major shine, and that's Southern Soul.
Yes, sir.
When I was coming up, it was really blues. It was straight, ZZ Hill,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Denise LaSalle. It was Malico. It was that whole
Mhm.
that whole Malico sound. How are you feeling? Because when people talk about Southern Soul to me, I say it's always been there. It's just now, boots on the ground.
It's
it's
got another
taken out.
name now, doesn't it? It has
you know,
another name now.
that's it.
It's a
But do
younger,
do
it's a
you
younger
compare it?
bunch of guys.
Yeah,
That's what
it
it
is.
is.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah.
I, Here's another something. I'll be touring starting in April with Bobby Rush. This is a Southern Soul. It's probably going to be called the Kings or the Legends of soul and R&B. But I don't think we're going to use the hook of Southern Soul, but it's going to be Lenny Williams. It'll be Lattimore. It'll be
Mm,
Shirley Brown. It'll be Bobby Rush. It'll be TK Soul. It'll be Mr. Sam. So and myself, But
right.
since I have a booking agency, a lot of the promoters call me and say, put me a good package together. So I'll be over in that bunch as well. And we have a lot of dates coming up in 2026. So I'm kind of mixing myself in. I did cut a quote unquote Southern Soul record called Mr. Harmonica Man
Yeah. Yeah.
on my last album, and it kind of pushed me over here. I had to have a stake in the claim of these Southern Soul guys because part of how we survive is we gradually give we give props to whatever is kind of to catch me out for radio, so we won't be left out.
Hmm.
We've been able to change it. Disco came around, we had influence of that in our music as well. So we've been pretty smart about it. And that's why we've been able to have a hit record in every decade at least one in every decade for the last 5 years.
Can I compliment the Barcades, man? Because I saw that coming up. You guys would do it. Let's see you shake.
Yeah.
All the sounds that you came out with in the 80s were the hottest sounds. Then you went to from Do It to I know you did Sexomatic, which
Yeah.
took advantage of the sound, all
Oh
the
yeah.
sounds. So I look back and people say, well, what were the hottest groups? You're in that group, but not only were you hot, you were smart because you understood what the trends were. A
Yes.
lot of people buck the trends. You pretty much stayed on the trends. Is that correct to say?
That's exactly right. And in the earlier days before he passed, our producer Alan Jones kind of instilled that in us, how to carefully not give up your identity, but certainly just be smart in radio. And we weren't the only ones that were kind of guilty of that. There were a few others that were smart enough not to just hang on to what they were in 1982.
Yeah,
Sometimes this doesn't work for radio if you are thinking about radio, and we were.
yeah,
We were trying to be relevant. And also, when we didn't have hit record, make sure our show was hot enough and exciting enough to even when we didn't have a record to be able to work and be one of the acts that the promoters would call and say, I got to have you on the show mixed in with us and so.
yeah.
You see what I'm
Well,
saying? So the whole
well,
thing is
when you
lights
look
on.
at the list, you just look. I mean, I look at the list and I say, well, Holy Ghost, perfect. That sound period where you
Yes,
had the
sir.
funk bands, you had
Yes, sir.
Bootsy, you had, of course, Clinton doing his thing.
Rick James, all of us, man.
Exactly. Then Move Your Boogie Body was kind of lean, kind of had the disco, post disco lean. And
Yes,
then let's
sir.
see, then Sexomatic, Freak Show on the dance floor. You kind of took advantage
Hit
of
and
the
run.
synthesizer. Oh
You
yeah, hit
talked
and
to
run. Oh
about it.
man.
Oh
And
man.
then
And then we went soft with the anticipations and
oh
unforgettable dreams. That was the flip side to what we were doing. You know what I'm saying? So,
man.
I don't say this bragging, but we try to stay in there, man.
Well, I'll brag for you.
Thank you.
Because it was on point. You guys were releasing music that was on point. So that's good stuff. So you're looking ahead and you mentioned the gap. You got Southern Soul, which interesting. I don't think people realize because they hear the Southern Soul voices, but you don't realize how young these guys are. It's just like, and I'm not, we can
You're
promote, we
right.
can
You're
talk about
right.
other
You're right.
artists. I saw the guy who sang the song "Help Me Find My Drawers." He's a kid to me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And look, King George
King
having an
George.
incredible career. 803 Fresh. All
Yeah,
these guys are y'all,
yeah, yeah,
uh, and the list goes on and on. And they are packaged up on what they call the Blues Is All Right tour. And it's got blues in front of the hook, but it ain't really that.
yeah.
It's really a combination of Southern Soul, which they, they just, it's kind of like neo soul.
Mm-hmm.
We sometimes put names on genres that we may perhaps sometimes don't understand or don't have another name for it. It's
Right.
like 803 Fresh is too young to call blues act. They're certainly not that.
Yeah.
King George
Gotcha.
is not a blues act, but we
Mm.
must call them a Southern Soul. And they are, I tell you what, they are having a booking agency and promoting shows and having to do with the birth of a lot of shows. The Southern Soul audience is probably one of the most dedicated audiences that I have seen in a
Oh,
long time. Even when COVID was around, nobody else was able to perform, but the Southern Soul acts were, and the promoters had nothing, no restrictions at all. They had no apprehensions about doing concerts in the COVID.
yeah.
None of us were. I mean, none
What
of us. We
it
stopped.
it's good for black music and it's good for R&B because one of the things, as you know, I'm first generation hip hop, but you ran
Yes,
into
sir.
situations where venues wouldn't book hip hop acts. So now the venues are more accepting of Southern soul groups because of the fact that they're really R&B, like you said,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
R&B, it's
they're
soul.
R&B soul acts,
Yeah.
but they have such a huge following.
Oh.
Man, you'd be surprised, man. People are tipping their hats to them. The bigger agencies are getting these kids and signing them up because they want to be. Everybody wants to be with a winner.
Yeah, so
Everybody
true.
does.
So true.
Everybody
Man,
does.
man, let's talk about you and the family and the business that you guys are doing because you said you're a booking agent. You're connected with your son. You guys are doing records. Talk about that a little bit.
My family is all about giving back. We support HBCUs. We support particular HBCU in Memphis, Tennessee, Lemoyne Owen College. We've been doing that for like the last 12 years. We make sure that at least between 2 and 5 kids, we assist them to go into college every year.
Hmm.
That's just part of it. Our foundation just donated 500 books to a local library because we're terribly concerned with academic academic related things with kids. But it's just kind of who we are. Our booking agency does well. We've been around. We've become very, very respected. I said we started in 1999,
Hmm.
and we've maintained a very, very good relationship with most of the acts.
Hmm.
All of the other agencies, which are bigger than ours, but we've been managing to make a living out of that. We serve on Down syndrome boards because our daughter is Downs. I'm
Hmm.
an author. I wrote my first book while getting ready to take a hiatus from the Barcades. And now my wife and I are now finishing a book called Keep Looking Up When It's Downs. We'll finish that book this year.
Excellent.
2026, it will be finished. So
Yes.
yeah, and then I have two movies that will be out in the spring. One is based on a true story. It's called um, Loving Christopher.
Hmm.
And the other one is called The Fifth Step. I play a mob boss who finds and trains assassins to kill people.
Oh man,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So both those movies will be out in the spring.
you
That's
gonna
my
be like
other
the
project.
black Liam Neeson,
I don't know. I don't know.
Liam
Now
Neeson.
I have to my agent has to get age appropriate roles for me to read for now, which is cool
Good.
because it doesn't interfere with nothing that I'm doing, and I
Yeah.
love that. I love
Well,
to act, man.
oh man, that's excellent. I'm looking forward to it. So
Absolutely.
are you filming? Are you going to do most of the filming in Memphis, or are you coming over to the ATL?
Well,
Where?
so far, the films that I've been in, that my agent has come up with, are films that were being filmed in Memphis. I read for all those and got the parts in Memphis.
Mm,
But I recently was getting ready to go to Atlanta to film a movie that got put on hold with Cuba Gooding Jr.
hmm.
No, Cuba Gooding, yeah, Cuba Gooding, yeah. It doesn't matter, just wherever I get a part. When they send me a part and I read for it and I get the part, I'll go.
So what have you have? What's your filmography look like there, Larry Dodson? I know you've done some
Well,
stuff, man.
these two movies, Loving Christopher, Fifth Step, I've done two. I've done Fifth Step 2 years ago. Then I did the sequel. I just finished. I
Hmm.
did a film called Memphis 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm finding my way. I'm
Excellent.
finding my way.
Because you got to be diverse. You got to do different things. The
And you
books.
know what? When you like it, it ain't work.
Yeah, that's true. That's so
It
true.
ain't work. It's challenging, but it ain't work.
Man,
Performing ain't work to me, man.
I hear you.
Performing is putting a smile on folks' face, man.
Excellent. And you put on a great show
I
when people
appreciate that.
see you on stage. You know, I saw, of course, Anticipation, one of my favorite songs, Bar-K songs of all time.
Yes, sir.
And you just watch the crowd, man, how they sway, how just like you used to do back in the day when you had the snake.
Yeah, yeah. You'll be
You
seeing more.
know.
You'll be seeing more of him in
Oh no.
2026. The
You
only reason
still
I don't
got
have one
him?
right now, I have not found one big enough for me to bring on stage. I've turned down. I have somebody that helps me locate them, but I haven't found one large enough. I just finished doing. I did a show at one of the theaters with Jeffrey Osborne. He and I
Yeah.
did it in L.A. And the promoter just begged me, said, "Please bring the snake." So
Oh,
I just didn't have one long enough, but I'll have one in 2026.
I
I
was gonna
promise.
ask you. That was gonna be on my list, and I said, "Man, I know he gets so many questions about this." Man, but let me tell you, you changed. You know, well, you had Bootsy. You know, you had the funk bands doing some stuff,
Yes,
but
sir.
man, I mean, your image was so much different and out front. Now the players. Of course, you know, they were
Yeah.
edgy. Everybody, all the funk bands were edgy, but we knew the Barcades when we saw that snake. We knew it was, we knew
He's
it
a
was
much
you and
bigger
the.
star now with us.
Oh, nobody but the
I couldn't
Barcades.
show up without him. But I made people wait. I'd only bring him out on the last 5 minutes of the show. So if you want to see Snake, you got to stay for the whole entire.
Oh
And it,
man,
it fascinated people,
y'all
man.
heard it. He bringing the
Yeah.
snake back.
Yeah, man,
So,
you're gonna see him in 2026, along with all
oh
the other gigs and gadgets. I got a huge show now, man. I
wow.
travel with about 17 people with the dancers, horns. We got smoke, fire. We got it. You name it. Yeah, we're gonna be doing it. We're gonna be doing it big 2026,
So
and I'm
when
doing it now.
you're from Memphis originally, I know Memphis,
I am born and
Arkansas.
raised.
Okay,
Born
you
and raised.
born and raised in Memphis. Did you work with Maurice and those guys, some of the guys from Earth, Wind and Fire when they were doing stuff in Memphis at all?
You
Maurice
want to hear?
White.
You want to hear a true story?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Back when Earth, Wind, and Fire was a huge group in terms of personnel, but hadn't made they opened for us. And this particular time, this is a true story. So they didn't. We had a little mock PA system with some Shure columns. We had about 8 Shure columns, and Maurice and them didn't have anything. So unbeknownst to us, we were at the hotel, and our roadie, they asked our roadie could they use our stuff, and he told them no, and we almost fired him for that. They vowed to never perform with us ever
What?
again in life, and only until last year did they come off of that. And I travel now as Larry Dodson, the legendary voice of the Barcades, and James has a group, the Barcade. So we understand why we're doing that, and everything's fine. Love them to death, and I love both sides of it. But they opened for Earth, Wind, and Fire, and Verdi and them still kidded him about that
Wow.
thing that happened 45 years ago, man. So yeah, but to answer
Oh,
the question, yeah, they call our paths crossed, not in the latter years, but earlier when they were not really known. They had a girl in the group. They had a lot of personnel.
yeah.
They just it's big. They're incredible now. I watch them and I keep up with them. I watch all the concerts on YouTube, and they're just remarkable. I have the utmost respect for them. They've kept that torch alive, and of course, Maurice is from Memphis.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man, yeah.
So Larry Dodson, looking ahead, what do you see in the future for the genre, for the really the genre you've created, you know, as a member of the Barcades? What do you see going forward? What do you see the future? And plus, you're a promoter now, so
Yeah,
you get a really good picture of what people are asking for. What do you see for the future?
I really believe there's going to be. Well, I physically know that there is a turn and twist. The promoters and the concert world is going to be attracted more to the combination of the better OGs funk groups. That's not inclusive of all of them because we all have different values. and valuability to a concert. But I think that the concerts will ultimately go to OGs in all genres. I think it's gonna have you're gonna see the Southern Soul older guys be able to tour again. You know, you see the OGs of the ladies having their day right now, and everybody's gonna be able to stand up on stage and sing and dance and do it. You know, a great percentage of how they used to do it, they're gonna experience a resurgence of their performance career. That's what I really do see.
Yeah.
Because the '90s have had it, they have had their day, so to speak. They're
Yeah.
gonna always be good and always have valuability. And this is not demeaning to any genre, but I think there's gonna be a acceleration in the guys who have been there for a lot of years and still able to perform and give a great show for the people.
Excellent. Larry
Because everybody's
Dodson.
had that day.
They have, and you know,
Yes, sir.
just to, you mentioned, the resurgence, and even though it is '90s, you got, they just announced with Tony Braxton, Boys to Men, and New
And
Edition,
new additions. You see, you got OGs, man.
all
You
on
got
one
them there,
stage,
all
one
on one
stage.
stage. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
amazing.
Charlie's had he had KC out. He had El DeBarge, and who else? And he had Babyface.
Well,
You
yeah,
see, you
yeah,
can see that they gravitated to guys they can depend on for that 45 minutes or that 40 minutes on stage. That's
yeah.
what's going to happen.
Well, I can tell you, I feel blessed to have experienced you guys back in the '80s,
Appreciate that.
because I tell my friends will say, "Hey, man, why you not going to this show?" And this is nothing against the current performers,
Sure.
but I tell them, I said, ain't nothing like what I've already seen, man. I mean, they're younger, and they say, well, hey, why don't you go? I said, I saw some of the best, and not to say that it's not good now. It is. There's some really great
Yes, sir.
performers, and there will continue to be. I think you're right on point with that. But it's just like, man, the period that you came through, it was a gauntlet, man. The bands, you had to either be great or be gone.
Oh, be gone. You're absolutely right. And check this out. When the Masters come to town, Larry Dodson, legendary voice of the Barcade, the
Yeah.
Ohio Players,
Uh.
SOS, Confunction, the Daz Band, Brick, when we come
Oh.
to town, that's an amazing show. That's the Masters of Funk tour most nights in
Excellent.
2026. I mean, they aren't able to sit down because it ain't nothing but the hits.
That's it.
And it's
Cause
no set change. It's a constant show. Don't ask me how we do
wow.
it, but we do it. There's no set change.
Excellent. Good stuff. La-
Yes, sir.
Larry Dodson, man, I have been privileged to have you on the
Your
You Need
check's
to
in the
Know
mail, okay?
podcast. Checks in the mail. Oh, okay, all right. No, but thank you, man. Thank you, really.
My
Thank you
pleasure,
for
man.
taking the
Whatever,
time.
whatever, whenever. Call on me anytime, man. Whatever I can do for you, just
And
let me
I
know.
got to tell the story that I told you about your wife on the podcast, though,
Go
man.
ahead. It's
When,
okay. It's okay.
when
We've been
I
married,
called,
55 years, so ain't nothing new under the sun
I
with
didn't
us.
think I was gonna get this interview. I didn't think I
Go
was gonna
ahead.
get it
Go
today
ahead.
because
Go ahead. Go ahead.
because Tanya B does the podcast with me on
Yeah.
This Is the G
Yeah.
podcast. So she sent me a number. I didn't know it was your home number, so I
Yes, sir.
called. I'm thinking it's your cell phone. So I hear a voice and I say, "Hey, Larry," and she said, "Excuse me, this sound like Larry to you?" And then
Oh my God.
then I
I
said,
won't get on it for
"Hey,
that.
and see, I grew up getting plenty of backhands for being smart
Oh
back in
yeah,
the day,
I
sitting in the
did as
back seat,
well.
you
Yes,
know.
sir.
So I say to her, I said, well, she said, this is his wife. I said, well, if you live with them long enough,
Yes,
you
sir.
started to sound like him. And she went
And look like
silent.
her.
But I do want to say thank you to her as well. Thank you so much.
She'll call me in a few minutes. I'll
And
tell her.
you got
Okay.
an excellent gatekeeper, man. 'Cause
I'll
she
tell
put
her that as
she put
well.
me
She's
through it. So
wonderful.
Larry, thank you, man. And
God
whenever you're
bless you,
in
my brother.
town or whenever you got something going on you need to promote, you hit us up. We'll take care of you.
Whenever, whatever for you.
All right, thank you, man. I
My
appreciate
man.
it.
Yes,
Y'all
sir.
give it up for Larry Dodson, the one and only, even got a doctor's degree. So
I have two.
two honoraries.
I have two.
So I got to say thank you for taking the time to be on the You Need to Know podcast. Y'all, we are on Spotify. You can also find us at castropolis.net. Great artists like Larry Dodson still out there doing his thing, making impact on the
And
music
new music
industry.
in 2026.
Oh, that's right. Wait a minute. I ain't going nowhere. Tell me about the new music real quick. You got some time? Real quick about
It's
the new
going.
music?
I will tell you this. It's going to be double fold out. I'm going to let you the first person I've ever said this to. So I've got new music, but I'm also I have a. It's going to be a fold out with a booklet in it where the fans can understand my band more, the people behind the scenes that make the production big. They're going to get to know them through the fold out pamphlet in the middle, and then there are going to be videos that I'm going to give to them,
Wow.
and it's going to be rightly priced. It's going to be a fold out, incredible. I haven't titled it yet because I haven't thought of enough a name that I want. My last album was yours truly, Larry D. Was like a love letter to my fans, so it'll be something interesting. But it will be a fold out, more bang for your buck. Okay?
Excellent. Excellent. And
Yes,
I'm
sir.
looking forward to it. And I know the fans are too as well. Larry
Thank you.
Dodson, thank you, sir.